It's a beautiful day and, well, we think it's dry enough to give the chicken coop a bit of a clean out. So we're still bound by all the restrictions. So what we've had to do is put our big hens into the little hens area temporarily while they're enjoying a bit of sunshine and having a bit of corn. And then we're going to get into the coop and give it a little bit of a sort out, because the hens have been in here now already for some time and they tend to get in a bit of a mess. They've dug a few sort of pits and we're going to try and level it out a bit, and we're going to move around these stumps and generally clean the area up, get it as nice as we can for them. And we've had the idea of adding a couple of branches just to give them a bit of height. And I've got to be honest, I got that idea from Danny at Grapevine Allotment. So pop over there and see what he's done too. And then I might venture into their outside area because, well, we're getting an awful lot of stinging nettles and I can just start to see the new growth at the bottom. So I'll probably clear this out if I get the time, and that'll just get us set up for when the hens can come back outside. Right, into there. Well, we've had a good old clean up in here now for the chicks, and they'll enjoy rooting around this. It'll be like it's completely new for them. And my, well, homemade ladder, I think they'll enjoy that. Bit of a, well, bait to get them to explore it. And with a bit of luck, they'll hop up onto the stumps and then onto the various bars and hopefully get a bit of interest whilst they're cooped up. So I think we'll get them in and see what they make of it. So this is Perp, who's a bit of a favourite of mine. There you go, Perp. Woohoo! What a beautiful morning. Frost on the ground and the sun in the sky. Ooh, could have blinded you there. Sorry about that. But yeah, look at that. What a hard frost we had last night. And looking around the plot, wow, look at the broccoli. Absolutely covered in frost, but that won't do it any harm. I wonder if the chickens have made any use of their new climbing frame at all. Let's have a look. Has anybody perched up on there? Well, Perp's there, having a look around, but no, nobody on the climbing frame this morning. Oh, somebody must have been up there because one of the leaves is down below. I reckon they've been pecking at that, hopefully. Right, well, this morning, you know what it is. It's delivery time. And I'm not going to video it all, because as I say many times, you've seen it many times. But I can tell you what, there's no better time than a sunny, cold morning to be shoveling manure, because it keeps you warm and it's quite pleasant in the sun. I've got my usual delivery, which I've just picked up from the garage, and that'll keep me going for, well, a good hour probably. Okay, one last look over the plot before I get underway. Well, that one was quite tough. Quite a lot of manure. January, allotments come with a free membership to the gym. But it sure is good for you. Right, this is the very last bits, and we'll get this one covered up. And that should be it for today on manure movement anyway. And it'll be very interesting to watch the temperatures on these two over the coming week. This one should be warming up real quick, and I'd like to think I could start that one getting warm again, and I'll keep topping that off with fresh every time I get a delivery. It's important to keep reasonably warm after you've done a bit of work like that. Right, let's get this covered. Well, I wasn't going to test the temperature on here for a few days. It's only been 2 days since I set up the pile, but I noticed this morning, I don't know if you can see it, but there's steam coming up from the side under the covers. If I drop them back, you get more of an impression of what's going on. It's certainly getting very warm in there, so I'm going to test the temperature. Just for, well, my own amusement really. So let's pile this into here. It's currently about 8 degrees, and if I pop that in, it's rocketing, and we're heading for, well, we've just passed 60 degrees centigrade, and we're now at 65. So it's really very warm indeed in there. I think we're going to settle around 75 degrees. I am going to test the temperature of that one over there, because I tried to, well, get the warmth going again by adding some fresh compost or fresh manure. Let's go and see what that one says. Yep, this one's just circa 65 degrees centigrade, well into the green zone. Well, I'm not going to lift the cover on this one, just see what we've got. And it's sitting around 20 degrees centigrade, so not really picked up very much. But it was in and around 10, so a bit better. I think I'm going to have to pull this one out and turn it over sometime in the not too distant future. Well, Mrs. K has been training the chickens to climb up this climbing frame I built them. So she's asked me to give them a bit of incentive as she thinks that she's succeeding. So I'm going to just put these in various places, which might encourage a little bit of climbing. So let's see. I think you'd have to say that's a success. It gives them something else to do in what's quite a difficult period. Well, I'm getting through the winter work quite well. In fact, I'm sort of approaching that time where I'm thinking I'm not going to be sowing anything more for, well, a good few weeks yet. So what am I going to do in between time? The compost is spread and the allotment's in pretty good order. I've got a bit of weeding to do in the black currant to get rid of those brambles. But after that, I think I'm going to take on another project. Something that's been hanging around in the plot for a while. But that'll be for another video. In the meantime, I turned this over really just to first grab at all the weed that was in here. And now I think it's time to come back and just sort through and get rid of anything else that's in here. Get this bed a bit further on and free of weeds. So I'm going to work through and then I'm going to think about whether I add a barrier in there to stop the couch grass from growing in and the bindweed. So let's get this turned over. It's pretty chilly and it'll warm me up. Well, that got the heart pumping. You can see what was in here. There's some pretty big roots, plenty of weed, a few stinging nettle roots, but I got down pretty deep and that's good. I can give it another crack another day, just take it down another few more inches, and I should have got rid of what's feeding the bed with weed. And you can see these wooden struts that I've been using. They've only got a very thin, probably 1 centimetre, less than half an inch thickness below that wooden strut, and subsequently they're just rotting through, and that's true of both of those beds. So really got to find a solution to that. Don't have one at the moment. This is the sort of weed you can see in here, but I think I'm winning, and I would like to put a barrier in there, but really no point until I've figured out how I'm going to put a barrier around the edge of these beds. So I'll get my mind working on that. But in the meantime, that's another good step forward. Well, this is the experimental garlic bed. Experimental because I've got white rot in the bed and I've chopped up some garlic tops earlier on in the season and mixed it into the surface of the soil. And the theory is that the white rot would have got on top of all that garlic choppings and effectively burnt itself out. And hopefully that will mean that the bed has got little or no white rot left in it. That's the plan, or at least the theory. What I am going to do is just weed this because the garlic appears to be doing really well. I'm going to do this carefully and then wash these gloves because there's a good risk that if there is any white rot, it will remain on my gloves. But I do want to get these weeds out of this bed because, as I've said many times, alliums don't like weeds and it does inhibit their growth, in my experience anyway. So I'm going to deal with this carefully but try and maintain the bed. And got one big one there. It's pretty good, this bed. Pretty much got rid of any weed growth at the beginning of the season and very little has come back. So there we go. I think that's it done. And so far so good. We've got a little bit of brown on the edge of some of these leaves, but I think that's just the cold weather. I don't think it's going to do them any harm. They're actually looking as well healthy as any other garlic I've got around the plot, and I've got quite a few bits and pieces here and there. Right, net back on, dispose of this weed carefully and keep growing. Well, that little dig wraps up this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, why not like and subscribe? And if you want to get my updates, then click the bell at the top, and then you'll get my uploads notified to your YouTube account every Wednesday and every Sunday at 8 p.m. Have a good one.